What's up, legends, and welcome to the first of hopefully many Unmatched playthrough videos. This has been one of the most requested videos for me to do on my channel, probably right behind tier lists, but I gave you one of those 2 weeks ago, and since I'm in such a generous mood this month, I decided to give the people what they want, and well, here's the gameplay video the masses have asked for, except this one won't be a prank, thankfully. The first thing I want to point out here is that I'm calling this over-explained gameplay, but what does that mean? Well, a commenter recently requested recorded gameplay where I go over strategy as the game plays out, kind of like a play-by-play where I'm in the driver's seat discussing my options and why I play certain cards or not and things like that. And I thought this was a very cool idea. I've always wanted to do some sort of playthrough video, but I needed to do something different because there are already a ton of them on YouTube right now. So I wanted to do my own little twist, and thank you, John, for the great idea. So I'll be playing 2 games today and over-explaining everything as the game goes on. This is nothing more than just commentary, but I like how technical and cool over-explained sounds, so I'm sticking with that. And as a side note, I have never done anything like this before. I probably should have practiced before I made a video out of it, but doing something and talking about it at the same time is a lot harder than it looks. Maybe it isn't and I'm just dense, but I took a lot of inspiration from the commentators of the recent Unmatched community tournament. So I'd like to once again marvel at the amazing job Tristan, Josh, John, Frank 4, and Matt all did for that, because I did this for like an hour and struggled greatly while they went for like 9 hours straight on back-to-back days and were absolutely excellent. So I'd like to give them the largest of props for the outstanding job that they did. After this video, maybe go watch like 5 minutes of a tournament game and see just how truly bad I am at this comparatively. Anyways, today's matchup is Robin Hood versus Bigfoot. I chose these characters because they are simple, so the strategy wouldn't be overtaken by complex game mechanisms that some of the other characters have. And this set was one of the first ones released, so a good chunk of people probably already have it, know the characters, and can play along at home. I specifically didn't choose Battle of Legends Volume 1 because I'm kind of tired of those matchups, but if people wanted to see them in the future, I'd give them a go. Also, I should say, if you like this video style format, whatever, and want to see more videos like this, or if you have specific matchups in mind, please let me know in the comments and we'll see if they show up in future videos. To keep with the strategic nature of my videos, I'll give a brief strategy rundown of this matchup, what each hero kind of needs to do in order to win. And as always, what I'm about to say is my opinion, and I could be horribly wrong on any of these points, but based on my experience and knowledge, this is what I think. Remember, I'm just a guy on the internet. You ultimately have to use your own judgment and find a path to victory yourself. So with that being said, here are my key matchup details. Bigfoot is move 3, so he's a little bit faster than Robin Hood when he maneuvers, but because of Robin Hood's ability, he has added mobility. For those unaware, Robin Hood's ability lets him move the attacking fighter in combat 2 spaces after combat. So he's actually a lot more mobile than he looks on paper and doesn't have a lot of movement effects on any of his cards, I think, off the top of my head. And what's important about this for Robin Hood is that after he attacks, he can move, and his outlaws too, not just him. But this will prevent Bigfoot from being able to attack twice on his turn, on most turns. Bigfoot has some cards like Skirmish and Hoax, where if he plays it on defense, he can move after combat and go right next to your fighters and set up a double attack, but usually he won't be able to do that, so he'll most of the time have to spend his first action on his turn maneuvering or scheming in order to move, which will cut down the speed at which he can attack you with his big attacks. And he has some scary attacks, so this is really good for Robin Hood. You should make use of your movement ability basically whenever you attack. Both decks have really good card draw, but Bigfoot's ability lets him draw cards. Basically, he can draw a card at the end of his turn if he's alone in a zone with no enemy fighters, and that's pretty consistent to do on any given turn. He can just move or maneuver away and pretty much get a card whenever he wants, whereas Robin Hood has a lot of card draw attached to his combat cards. So they both have a lot of cards, but they get them in different ways. Robin Hood is a ranged fighter, meaning he doesn't have to attack you from right next to you. He just has to be in the same zone as you, which means as Robin Hood, you want to find the spaces on the map that have 2 or 3 zones in them and just sit on that the whole game, because that just gives you a wide range to attack your opponent. And especially in this matchup, it makes it harder for Bigfoot to find empty zones to use his ability. With that being said, Robin Hood also has very poor block cards. None of them have values higher than 3, so the outlaws will have to stick very close to you and block the spaces next to Robin Hood so that Bigfoot, a melee fighter, can't go right next to you and hit you, because when he hits you, he will hit you very hard. So you will use your outlaws to soak up hits for you so that Bigfoot has to attack them before he can attack you. And because your block cards are kind of bad, sometimes you just don't play one. You don't play a block card if you're defending as an outlaw. But you don't want to do this every single time, because then the Bigfoot player can start using stuff like regroup to kill your outlaws, which is horrible for a number of reasons. It will give him card draw back. He'll draw 2 cards because he won the combat if you don't defend. And he gets to use a bad card like regroup to kill one of your sidekicks, which is just really, really horrible as Robin Hood. Speaking of sidekicks, if we're looking at Bigfoot's sidekick, his jackalope, I talked about this in my strategy guide, but the jackalope is pretty useful as a sidekick, even though he only has 6 health, because the amount of cards shared between the jackalope and Bigfoot is so large. Basically the only Bigfoot only cards in that deck are Savagery, Larger Than Life, and Crash Through the Trees, which means Jackalope can block with all of the same cards that Bigfoot can block with, which means it's actually a lot harder to kill him than it is other heroes that have hero-specific block cards that the sidekicks can't use. The Jackalope's main strength for Bigfoot is being able to deal 2 free damage with 3 copies of Jackalope Horns, which is a scheme. And he can use that to take out 3 outlaws, which will be very annoying for you because you can't really block with them, but this just doesn't give you the opportunity to block. It'll just kill them straight up. But also, 2 damage on your hero is a lot, because Robin Hood only has 13 health. That's a really low health total. And if, for example, if the Jackalope used all 3 copies of Jackalope Horns on Robin Hood, he'd be at 7 health. And because of his poor block cards, it's really easy for Bigfoot, who has a ton of big attacks, to just quickly kill Robin Hood if he got to that low of a health. So you, as Robin Hood, you want to try to defeat the Jackalope before all 3 Jackalope Horns come out. After that, like if he uses all 3 of them, you can kind of just ignore him, because he won't really do anything that Bigfoot could do. He won't do anything different, I should say. You just want to kill Bigfoot at that point. This also, you have to be a little bit careful with your positioning, because Jackalope Horns lets the Jackalope move through enemy fighters, so you kind of have to put an outlaw in front of you and behind you as Robin Hood, because he could just skirt behind you and attack you from the back. As Robin Hood, before all your outlaws die, you want to utilize their card Highway Robbery and the mind games you get from that as much as possible. And because they only have 1 health and you have poor block cards, they're going to go pretty quickly, especially if the Bigfoot player is really aggressive about that early game. So you want to use Highway Robbery to its fullest potential. And you have a ton of card draw in your deck, so you should be able to see hopefully at least 2 copies before most of your outlaws go down. And it may not work against Bigfoot particularly, because Bigfoot has more cancel effects than normal decks do. He's 2 copies of It's Just Your Imagination, which basically act as feints. So Highway Robbery is really countered by cancel effects on defense cards. So just be a little bit wary of that. But the good part about Bigfoot dedicating most of his cancel effects on outlaw attacks is that Robin Hood's attacks are less likely to get canceled. So things like Piercing Shot, Ambush, and Disarming Shot will all usually go uncanceled when you attack as Robin Hood. So there's a little bit of like a trade-off there. The Outlaws probably will get canceled, but they have good mind games anyway, and Robin Hood won't get canceled. So this is an interesting interaction, I think, for both players, because it's just a cool part of the matchup. And like the tournament commentators did, I think that highlighting some important cards from each deck is useful going into this, especially for people unfamiliar with the decks or the normal people that don't have them all memorized. So I will be playing as Robin Hood, and the 4 most important cards I think for his deck are these 4 on the screen right now. First, we have Hunter's Eye, which isn't unique. It's a 5 value attack with no text. A bunch of decks have this, but it's just one of your strongest damage dealing attacks. And even though Bigfoot has a ton of 4 value versatiles that he can use on defense, like Hoax and Skirmish, it's still a guaranteed damage, if not more than that. The next card is Highway Robbery. This is the bread and butter for your outlaws. Uncancelled, it just discards your opponent's block card without effect, and in that sense it's very powerful. So it is countered by Feint and other cancel effects that Bigfoot has a ton of, but you can throw in some mind games with this by baiting the attack with Regroup or a different versatile card in this deck, and may hopefully get your opponent to waste feints on useless cards like Regroup. So when it isn't canceled, it's 2 free damage and it blocks all the effects on your opponent's card. So it's a very powerful card, and the threat that it has because of its existence makes every face down attack card you play as an outlaw really scary for your opponent. It's a really good way to deal with the Jackalope early too, especially if Bigfoot doesn't necessarily want to waste cancel cards defending for the Jackalope. The next card is Defenders of Sherwood. This is the card in your deck that lets you return defeated outlaws back into the game. You have 2 copies of this, and I would basically play this whenever you draw it, if you can return an outlaw. You have 4 outlaws, but they'll go down pretty quick because you don't really have good block cards to keep them alive, and you have strength in numbers. You are much stronger with 4 outlaws on the board than 2, but you probably could figure that because it's just common sense. But you want to keep as many outlaws in play because you need to block the spaces next to Robin Hood so that Bigfoot can't attack you with a melee attack. And Defenders of Sherwood lets you maintain the numbers of outlaws on the board at any given time. So you always want to have the most you can. So you really shouldn't wait to play this. You should almost use it the turn or the turn after you draw it so that there's more outlaws on the board than not. And the last card is Ambush. Bigfoot has a ton of good cards. He has cards like Savagery and Jackalope Horns, larger than life, obviously. And if you can discard one of them, that is a potentially game-changing swing for you. So Ambush as an attack maybe isn't that useful at dealing damage, but the random discard effect on it is super powerful and could potentially win you the game if you just take a good card from your opponent. The important cards that my opponent will be using as Bigfoot are on the screen right now. The first one is Larger Than Life. This is the thing that makes Bigfoot strong because he has 3 copies of a 6 value attack. Against Robin Hood, he can only block 3 damage at most, so this is guaranteed 3 damage against the enemy hero, which is really good because Robin Hood only has 13 health, so this is a really scary attack for him. The next card is It's Just Your Imagination. This is the super feint, as I would call it, except I can't call it that anymore because Deadpool has a card called Super Feint coming out, so this is like a feint plus. It's really good against outlaw attacks, especially because most of the time they will be highway robbery, and you want to cancel that as Bigfoot. We've talked about Jackalope Horns a lot, but it's one of the most important cards in Bigfoot's deck because it's pretty flexible and being able to just straight up kill an outlaw. The movement effect of moving through enemy fighters is also really useful for getting to Robin Hood when he's down a couple outlaws and isn't completely surrounded. And 2 health lost as Robin Hood, who only has 13, is a pretty substantial amount. So it's just a pretty useful card. You want to try to draw all 3 of these and use all 3 of these before Robin Hood can kill the Jackalope. And the last important card for Bigfoot, I think, is Savagery, because the after a combat effect says if you won the combat, deal 1 damage to each fighter adjacent to Bigfoot. It's a 4 value card. Robin Hood can only block 3 damage because that's what his highest block cards are. So you will always win the combat in this matchup, which means you'll get the AoE effect as Bigfoot. every time if this isn't canceled. So you want to position yourself so that you can hit ideally at least 2 outlaws, if not more, and just kill all of them in a single attack. This means the Robin Hood player probably doesn't want to position their outlaws in a way that could get hit by this, or they will save their feints for when they think you might play the savagery. But this is a really good tool for getting rid of multiple sidekicks. And if Bigfoot can land this and knock out an extra sidekick in one attack, that's just a really efficient use of his cards, because the most annoying thing for him about the Outlaws is having to spend a card each time to kill all of them. And there could be 6 in total, not concurrently, for a whole game. And that's a lot of attacks that are essentially wasted. And if you can utilize savagery to make yourself more effective and efficient, that is just a really good play for Bigfoot. So, okay, we're almost at the gameplay. Just a couple more notes. First, I recorded this gameplay on the stock standard garden variety root vegetable that is my 5-year-old laptop. It is a complete potato, meaning the quality is somewhat poor, to put bluntly, but hopefully you focus more on what I'm saying and not on how blurry everything is. But yeah, I'll try to improve this for the future. And as I said before, I have not ever tried playing while simultaneously giving commentary. So there will be moments where I misplay because I'm thinking about too much, maybe more than just a few moments, but I might also fail to point something out or just some sort of similar mishap. And I just want to remind you that I am human too. I make mistakes, and I would appreciate not getting ripped in the comments when that does happen, especially because this is my first time making a video like this. So I'm not saying you can't question or criticize certain actions or moves I make. Just be respectful, and I hope you show the same respect to my opponent as well. It's actually really good that I make mistakes in these games, because that way we can all learn from them together. At least that's what I'll tell myself so I can sleep tonight. On that note, here are the games, and enjoy the video. All right. Well, this is exciting. This is my first playthrough. Okay. So I lost the coin tip, so my opponent is going first. He's playing as Bigfoot. I am playing as Robin Hood. I have drawn my starting hand of 5 cards, and now I have to choose where to put my outlaws. You definitely do not want to give Bigfoot easy access to you, so I'm just going to immediately box myself in. Bigfoot does have that card Crash Through the Trees, which lets him move through enemies, so I definitely want to put someone even as far back as behind me, just to make it slightly harder for him to reach me. And then I guess I'll just put my 4th outlaw. I'll keep him close to me and just move him over there. So let's see what Nemo does on his first turn. So this will be like an over-explained guide. So I'm just gonna walk through like all my options every single turn, and we'll just see how it goes from there. My opening hand wasn't too good because I only got 1 defense card, but I did draw 2 very good cards in Highway Robbery, which is just an insanely good outlaw card, and Hunter's Eye, which is just a good 5-value attack. We also have a really good card draw option in Piercing Shot as well as Disarming Shot, so we can very easily get more cards in our hand. So Nemo is maneuvering first action, very typical. He's going to move Bigfoot right next to an outlaw, and I guess his jackalope will be shortly behind him, and he will be attacking our outlaw with Bigfoot. Now, the thing about Bigfoot is he has a ton of 4-value attacks, which means this 3-value block card might not work, but we're just going to go for it and see what happens. Okay. And what are the cards? Yeah, okay. So it was a regroup, so blocking there was the right idea. So no damage taken, and we deal 1 damage to Bigfoot, and he gets to draw a card. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So yeah, even if like this wouldn't block a savagery or a hoax or a skirmish or anything like that, we still want to deny him the easy kill, I guess, and regroup would let him draw 2 cards, which would be quite horrible this early in the game. Um, so he still has 6 cards in his hand, but he can't use his ability because he's in the same zone as one of my fighters. And it will be our turn. Okay. Well, we'll give a little comment there to Nemo, letting him know that his regroup didn't go unnoticed. Okay, so we want to get more cards in our hand. So let's use piercing shot on Bigfoot, because if uncanceled, this will just give us 2 free cards. And what is he going to use? He's going to use a hoax. So this wasn't canceled at all, which is great. So he gets to move his fighter 5 spaces through opponents, which is really good that we blocked Robin Hood in so that he couldn't like sneak past us if this outlaw wasn't here. And because it wasn't canceled, we get to draw 2 cards. So this is pretty good. So he's just running away. I'm assuming to use his ability, but we'll see where he actually places him. Okay, so he's going to make me, he's not going to give me another chance to attack him this turn without maneuvering. So we'll draw 2 cards from that. Okay, we got some, all right, block card in Wily Fighting, and regroup is just a basic bait attack in this deck. And I can move Robin Hood 2 spaces after combat. But I really like where we are because this oh yeah, sure, we'll let him move. Okay, so he's moving there. So we like this perfectly because we want to hit the most spaces with our ranged character in Robin Hood, and we want to protect him with the outlaw. So we'll just draw for the maneuver and stay here. Ideally, we'd like to get into these 2 tri-colored zones because that would just give us a huge range of combat potential, I guess. But we weren't really prepared to move Robin there this turn. That's something we'd like to probably do in the future. Yes, you can go, Nemo. Okay. Oh, so he's playing Jackal Abhorrence. He's probably going to use it to kill an outlaw. Yep. That's very unfortunate. There's 3 of those, and those can just eat up sidekicks for free, but also they're really good against Robin Hood because he only has 13 health. And with 3 Jackalope horns, that adds up to 6 damage that I just can't do anything about. And with no healing and really bad defense cards, Robin Hood just really doesn't want to get hit by this card, because it's pretty easy for Bigfoot to deal like 1 to 2 damage pretty regularly on an attack against Robin Hood. And if Robin Hood takes 3 Jackalope horns, that's just probably not gonna be very good for his long-term survival. So he's maneuvering away, which will give us hopefully a chance to control more of the center of the board. And he'll probably use his ability to draw another card. And he's at 6 cards. Bigfoot is really good at drawing cards, which is very annoying. Okay. We also can't hit him without boosting, which we might actually have to do. And I'm thinking, actually, yeah, we're going to have to do that. So let's maneuver. We'll draw our card first, as always, like you should. Oh, okay, so this is a really good card to boost with because a lot of times Robin Hood just doesn't need the additional card draw, and this isn't a very good card if you remember from my strategy guide. So I think I actually will boost. We'll do that, and we can move all our fighters 5 spaces. So we'll move 1, 2. Counting is good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll actually move this outlaw there. Move Robin Hood 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait. I should have planned this out earlier. This guy was here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll move him there. We'll move this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move Robin Hood 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll move him there. So now we're kind of boxed in, at least for the moment, and we'll move this outlaw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll just keep him sort of out of the way for now, so he can just jump in right when someone gets out. So let's try to take out the Jabberwock right now, and let's use highway robbery because the outlaw is already right next to the Jabberwock Jackalope, and highway robbery is just really good if the opponent doesn't play a cancel card. Okay, so they did, so nothing happens. That's annoying. Bigfoot has 5 cancel cards, so highway robbery isn't as like oppressive against some other things. I meant like against other heroes, but it's good to get a feint out of the way on the Jabberwock. So hopefully, I keep saying Jabberwock, it's Jackalope. Hopefully, the more I say that, everyone will just understand that's what I mean. I'm trying to like commentate, I guess, and like give reasoning for why I'm doing certain things, and I've never ever attempted to do this before, so it's just a little scary. So he's maneuvering. He has 6 cards in his hand. He'll probably ooh, excuse me. Okay, so he's retreating with Bigfoot. He's probably gonna attack us with the I just did it again, even after I said I I wouldn't. Oh, and he's using Jackalope horns again. Okay, so he got really lucky with drawing 2 of those. And then he's drawing a card from his ability, which is really good. He's keeping his hand size big, which just it sucks for us, but I guess let's try to keep the pressure on him. So now we're in a bit of a situation where we can attack the Jackalope right away because he started in the same zone as us. I know it's really hard to see, but that's a yellow zone too. So in this situation, I would really like to use Disarming Shot to get card draw because we only have 5. We'll have 4 after we attack, and who knows, maybe we can do some damage. And he probably doesn't have another feint, although he has drawn 11 cards. So in this situation, we could bait an attack, like with a regroup. And I think that's what we'll do first. So we'll attack the Jackalope with Robin Hood, and we'll just hopefully this like gets like a hoax or a skirmish out of the way, or even better, a feint. Oh, no defense. Okay, so I guess that was pretty telling. So we just get 2 cards off this regroup, and the Jackalope takes 1 damage. He goes nice. So now, do you think that he just doesn't have any block cards, or he didn't want to block? It might be worth using a hunter's. Take damage there. It might be worth using a hunter's eye just in case. Wait, no, not your turn, not your turn.
Heyo, it's me from the editing booth after recording, and I'm here to quickly explain what happened because there was a miscommunication error, and who would have thought that would happen when using a chat box to communicate online, huh? Basically, I pinged Nemo reminding him to take 1 damage from the attack, but he thought I was signaling him to take his turn, so he played a card while it was still my turn. This was slightly inconsequential, but in the moment I felt bad for being unclear with my ping, and with the knowledge that he had the 3rd Jackalope horns in hand but no defense, I didn't want to play Hunter's Eye to kill the Jackalope because I wanted to be a good sport, I guess, and Yeah. However, I played Disarming Shot instead without really thinking about the fact that I would draw 4 cards. And on top of that, I forgot to move Robin Hood after combat to get further away from Bigfoot. So a little bit of a clown fiesta here, but it's my first time doing this and not all the kinks have been worked out. So thanks for bearing with me. All right, back to the game.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a mishap there. Um, but I think because we kind of really like to save Hunter's Eye for dealing damage to Bigfoot. So we'll use Disarming Shot. And hopefully get more cards. Also, we can't kill the Jackalope too early. We want to keep the game interesting. But although no defense. Okay, so okay, yeah, that was actually a huge mistake on my part. I probably should have played Hunter's Eye and just killed him, because now we draw 4 cards and we'll have to discard 2. At the end of our turn. So we'll get rid of Piercing Shot because we don't need any more card draw, and we'll also get rid of Regroup because it's just a bad card. Yes. Okay. His turn. Wait. Okay. So we'll move there after combat, and then he'll use Jackalope Horns on us, and we'll take 2 damage, which is very annoying. But that is the last Jackalope Horns, so we won't have to see any of that again. And let's just use Defenders of Sherwood and get an outlaw back, I should say. Okay, Momentous Shift. So we take 2 damage because he moved that turn. Momentous Shift Jackalope's Horn is just a really good combat. And then after combat, we get a card. Cards are always good. We have a nice full hand, and we get to return a defeated outlaw, if any, to any space in Robin Hood zone. So the Jackalope's probably going to die pretty quickly. So let's actually put this guy right here, right next to Bigfoot, so we can get in a highway robbery that we just drew for free. And it blocks his ability, which is also a nice double-edged sword. Not double-edged sword. It's just like it's a nice 2-for-1, like buy one get one free type thing. Okay, let's see if it's my turn. And we're using text because obviously I'm talking to you guys and not to him, and I don't want him to hear me talking about my hand. So there's a little bit of communication errors coming in there. But yeah, we could try using Wily Fighting on the Jabberwock. I keep saying that Jackalope because this would just kill him after combat, but Bigfoot has cards like Hoax and Skirmish that move the fighters after combat, and if he just drew one of those, this wouldn't really be a good card. So let's use Ambush, just because that would also just be a pretty good card, and we don't want to waste any of these high value red cards on no defense. Okay, yeah, so this is also really good because we get to discard a random card. And we thought he wouldn't really block. So we'll wait for him to shuffle up, and hopefully we draw a larger than life. Okay, it wasn't. It was a Savagery, which is also just a really good card to take from Bigfoot as we have multiple sidekicks. And I'll move Robin Hood there after combat. Yeah, he goes shoot because that was a really good discard. And then I'll attack Bigfoot with that outlaw we spawned in. And if he doesn't have any cancel cards, this will be 2 free damage. No defense. Yeah, okay. So we get our highway robbery in. It's 2 damage. And then I'll move him back. Nice. And it is your turn. So that was just a really good turn for us, I guess, because now he has 1 less card in his hand. They're probably none of them are defense cards, I'm assuming. So you might have to just
run away for a turn or two to draw back up, which is pretty easy for him because if he is in this green zone, he could draw 3 cards on his turn from a double maneuver and his ability. And because we're in the gray, yellow, and brown zones, we wouldn't stop him there. So he could very easily get back to a fullish hand. Yeah, he's maneuvering as we expected. And we have some pretty good block options and 2 really good attacks in our hand. So we can actually try to keep the pressure on. So he's moving into this brown zone. I'm wondering why he's doing that, because he won't be able to use his ability unless he's continuing to maneuver further. Let's see what he does and maneuver again. So where's he going to move? Ideally, okay, yeah, he's not going to stay there. So he's in the red zone, which means we won't really be able to hit him as Robin Hood, but we can hit him as an outlaw, but we don't have very good attacks for that. And he drew a card, so he's back up to 6. Turn and draw. So we will maneuver, and let's see what we draw here. This could be huge. Okay, so it's just another block card. If it was a highway robbery again, that would just be clutch. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to move this guy here, Robin Hood there, so we're on all 3 zones, and we'll move him there to cover, and we'll move him here, and we're going to bait with one of these attacks. Let's do the draw a card, because we'd rather the damage go through and be unfainted than the card, because Robin Hood has a ton of card draw, so we'd rather have that get fainted than the damage. And let's see if he actually drew a block card on his last turn. He did. What's it going to be? Okay, it's a regroup, which means he probably has piss poor options in his deck, or in his hand right now, I should say, for blocking. So he'll draw a card. He'll take 2 damage, and then we'll draw a card. And then we get to use our after combat ability to move him 2 spaces. And now this does still work with Snark, because the after combat card effect happens before the ability. I'm not sure if that's the actual rule or if that's just how you can order things, but so we can trigger the adjacency requirement from this card and then just move away. So it's a very good formation here. It's very hard for him to get through. He'd have to boost around, which even for Bigfoot, as someone as mobile as him, that's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces, which is, even for a move 3 character, is just pretty hard because you don't have any boost value 5 options. He could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and move through something, but crash through the trees is only 5 spaces, so he can't actually reach me right now. We'll let him know it's his turn, but we're pretty happy here. We've got pretty good defense cards, and we just have 2 copies of Hunter's Eye, which is just probably one of our best attacks, and we have Disarming Shot for our hand reload. So we can deal some heavy hits in the next couple of turns. But the problem is these are Robin Hood only cards, and if he's scared of us, I should say, he'll probably stay out of our zone, but he's going in for an attack. He's not. So he's attacking our outlaw. This might be a case where we just don't want to block, but and he's already used 2 of his 3 regroups, so he's probably not baiting again because he's gone through half his deck. Do you think he's drawn 3? This might be a situation where it's like a skirmish or a hoax. If it's a skirmish, it's actually really good because he could move away. So we're actually going to throw out a feint here so he can't move, so we can double attack him as Robin Hood. So even though the outlaw won't survive, he still won't be able to move. So let's see what he played. Oh, he played a momentous shift. Okay, so he still dies anyway, but he's standing there, and now we can attack him as Robin Hood pretty safely. We probably can expect some sort of movement effect maybe next turn, but we do have cards like Wily Fighting, which will hit him back. So let's attack him as Robin Hood. All right, let's see if he can block this. Boom. Okay, he played Hoax. So we deal 1 damage, and then he gets to move his fighter up to 5 spaces through opposing fighter. So he could sneak up behind me right now. The good news is I can do something like this with my after combat move ability and just run out of the way. Probably should have waited for him to finalize his decision, but that just feels kind of cheeky. And now let's throw out a disarming shot to reload our hand, because he, just in case Crash Through the Trees is coming, we might want a few more options than just Wily Fighting. So I'll attack as Robin Hood, and let's see what he does. No defense. Okay, so again, we're getting a four card draw disarming shot off. So he must not have any defense cards in his hand. I don't know why he wouldn't block as much. 3, 4. Okay, so we have a full hand, and we'll leave Robin Hood right there, and we'll tell him that it's his turn. So what did we draw? We drew Highway Robbery, which we probably want to play this before all our outlaws die. Steal from the Rich, which we have drawn through almost all of our decks, so we really don't want to play this right now. Feint, always good to have, in Defenders of Sherwood. So he's attacking. We do not want this Savagery to go off, so we're going to feint this. Savagery would kill both of those outlaws. Yep, just as predicted, because it would, if he won the combat, he would deal 1 damage to each fighter adjacent to Bigfoot, which would be both of these outlaws. And Robin Hood doesn't have 4 value cards, so even though that outlaw died, it saved the life of the other outlaw. And we have a Defenders of Sherwood ready to bring the other one back. And he is not alone in his zone, so he can't draw a card from his ability. How many cards does he have? So he has 13 cards left in his deck. So we're definitely pushing the limits of our fatigue, because we're 5 cards ahead of him. So we need to kill him like relatively soon. He only has 7 health left. So to start, let's throw out a highway robbery from the outlaw. And then after combat, we'll move the outlaw in between our heroes. So that he can't just easily move and attack Robin Hood. Okay, so this is probably it's just your imagination. We haven't seen one. Oh, okay, he's playing with a regroup. So Highway Robbery says immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card and ignore its defense value. So he doesn't actually get to draw from that, and he just takes 2 damage. So it's basically like he didn't play a card at all. So he takes 2 damage, doesn't get to draw. And now we'll move the outlaw there. And then I'll attack. Ooh, yeah, I think we'll throw out a Robin Hood attack. We'll attack with Robin Hood, and this is our big boy. And if he doesn't have a block card, he's dead. No defense. GG.
So after watching that game, I think doing some post-game analysis will be really helpful to talk about why I ended up winning and some of the key factors that really played a part in making that happen. I think the main thing is that Nemo didn't really draw that many black cards. It happens when you play Unmatched, and sometimes the deck order can really screw you like it did here. He had to block with regroups, which is always a bad sign, and he took at least 4 undefended attacks that whole game, which just drained his health dials pretty quickly. I also got really lucky with my card draws. I drew at least 2 Hunter's Eyes and Highway Robberies, which are some of my best attacks, and I landed both disarming shots undefended for 8 cards drawn, which is probably about 4 to 6 more cards than you'd get from both copies of that on average in a normal game. Another key thing was my outlaw positioning. Only the Jackalope landed 1 attack on me the whole game. It was a momentous shift, and he also used a Jackalope's horn. So Robin Hood took 4 damage, and besides that 1 attack, my outlaws just prevented my opponent's fighters from reaching me for most of that game, which is a great way for Robin Hood to play defense without using high value attack cards. And on that same line of thinking, I also used my ability to prevent double attacks, and I used my feints pretty effectively as well. We're going to repeat this matchup in Game 2, but on Yukon, the other map in this set. So let's see how things shake out differently in this game, and hopefully Nemo can draw a little bit better.
Okay, in this game, I am playing as Robin Hood. My opponent is playing as Bigfoot, and I'm starting second on Yukon. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starting cards, and then that will determine where I place my outlaws. I can place them anywhere in my zone, which is this orangish and reddish place. So he gets to place his jackalope first, which is very annoying that he's placing it that close to me because he could potentially maneuver and hit me if I don't block him off with outlaws. And because both this space and this space are connected, I really have to put one there and there to prevent the Jabberwock from getting to me right away. I'll also put one there just to be a little sneaky. And I'll put one behind me because Bigfoot and his characters can often move through people with scheme cards, and we really don't want that happening. So let's see what cards we have in our opening hand. Ooh, okay. So this is not very good in the terms of attacks. We have Feint for canceling. It's good that we drew one this early. We have Defenders of Sherwood for bringing an outlaw back. We probably don't want to play either of these cards right away. We have Highway Robbery, which is a really good outlaw attack. It basically deals 2 free damage if it's not canceled, and it cancels the effect on your opponent's card too for good measure. So it's just a very annoying card, but it's outlaw only, which is why you have to keep them alive. Regroup, which we will not use as defense because our defense is bad enough to begin with. This will be a nice bait attack. And we have Wily Fighting, which is a pretty good defense card for Robin Hood and the Outlaws, considering the highest values in this deck are 3. There's no 4s, so you probably want to save these 3 value versatiles for defense. This positioning, I should say, on the board is pretty good because if the outlaw, or not the outlaw, if the jackalope wants to attack this outlaw on the first turn, a momentous shift won't trigger. So he'll probably have to use something like a skirmish or a hoax if he wants to actually kill him. He could also just bait with a regroup, but we'll probably have to block with Wily Fighting regardless. And if he doesn't kill this outlaw, it would be actually really good. Like if he played a regroup and then we played a Wily Fighting and he stayed alive. If he didn't move the jackalope at all, we could hit him with a Highway Robbery, potentially first action next turn, but he'll probably move the jackalope away or kill the outlaw. We'll probably move Robin Hood here on our first turn and attack with the regroup if Bigfoot stays in this like long corridor-ish zone. So let's okay, so let's see what our opponent does on the first turn. Yeah, we're in a good position to at least stall for a little bit with these block cards. Oh, okay, so he's doing a really early Jackalope Horn. And getting rid of that outlaw. Jackalope Horns is such an annoying card for me because one, it just kills the outlaws outright, and two, it's really bad against Robin Hood because Robin Hood only has 13 health, and if he takes 6 or 4 damage from Jackalope Horns, the multiple copies, being at 7 health is just really easy for Bigfoot to kill. So we're really trying to just keep our health total up and use the outlaws for blocking. So he's going to run away, which is very smart. And he'll get the draw from being in the purple zone all by himself. So he's at 6 cards, even though he used one. So what we're going to do is we're going to maneuver. And we'll... Oh, this really sucks because I have to boost in order to get to this space.
So this is a prime example of me doing something really stupid because just by glancing at the board, I forgot that 2 of those spaces were adjacent because Robin Hood's bow was blocking the black line between them. So I thought the tri-zone space was 3 spaces away, not 2. So I could have actually maneuvered there and attacked the jackalope this turn instead of just maneuvering twice. But we all make mistakes. Yikes.
Maneuver again. I probably should have drawn the first time. Silly me, I'm focused on so many things. But we're maneuvering twice, and I'll move Robin Hood here. So now we're completely boxed in by our outlaws, so they can't attack us, even if they could move through us. our fighters at least, and we drew another feint and a really good card draw tool, but we don't really need the card draw right now. We probably would rather have something like Hunter's Eye right now because our hand is full and we just need a big attack, but I guess we'll use our regroup bait next turn and see what happens, because we can hit a really large part of the map from this tri-space zone, the tri-state area, as Dr. Dushan Schmertz would say. But okay, let's see what he does on his turn, because he has 6 cards in his hand, which means he has to play some sort of scheme, I guess, if he doesn't want to discard his card, discard a card for overdraw at the end of his turn if he double maneuvers. But he is 3 spaces away from this outlaw, so let's see if he. Yep, and he's moving the jackalope out of the stony looking zone, which is probably smart. So he's attacking the outlaw. Let's play Defenders of Sherwood to get our other outlaw back in here. Okay, let's see what he plays. Yeah, it's a hoax. So Bigfoot has a lot of 4 value attacks and block cards, I guess, versatiles, and red cards. So it's really hard for Robin Hood to completely block all the damage from an attack, as he maxes out at 3 value block cards. So the outlaw takes a damage and he dies. And then we get to draw a card and then return a defeated outlaw, if any, to any space in Robin Hood's zone. So because that was Bigfoot's second action, we want to make use of that highway robbery first thing next turn. So we'll put him back there and then he gets to move. So I guess we won't actually use our highway robbery, but it at least it keeps Robin Hood safe and contained. Okay, so he's moving Bigfoot there in that red zone. Where do I want my discard pile to be? All right, you'll go over there. So he gets his draw. He is at 7 cards. So now I'll wait for him to say it's my turn, but okay. So we can't hit either of his characters because they're both in the red zone, and we are not in the red zone. So we will be maneuvering. We'll draw a card first this time. I'll remember. Let's see. Let's test whether or not he has a feint. We'll move the outlaw there, and we'll throw out a highway robbery. Yeah. All right. Yep, our feint. Okay, so this drew out a feint. We could have also played a regroup there to bait, but I just the first couple turns I typically will just throw one out because maybe he didn't draw a feint in his first 9 cards. It's unlikely, but it might happen. So we'll say your turn, and we moved our outlaw away again because of the ability that after we attack, we can move the attacking fighter up to 2 spaces. So we just bounced him right back. But that does get rid of 1 feint, and Bigfoot has 5 feints basically with It's Just Your Imagination. So that getting 1 out of the way at least is good for now. Okay, he's maneuvering. He's probably going to attack us because his hand is quite full. Where he moves the jackalope will be interesting to see too. We just drew the other disarming shot. Maybe this turn or last turn. I guess that's kind of annoying because our hand is full, so it's not really that useful. But okay, so he's moving the jackalope in front. The jackalope is a pretty useful sidekick because he can use most of the cards that Bigfoot can use. I mean, he's attacking the outlaw. I'm expecting a momentous shift here, so I'm wondering if it's even worth blocking. This kind of sucks. Yeah, because these won't even do anything against a momentous shift. So we're just gonna not block. Let's see what it is. Okay, so it was a skirmish. Basically the same idea. Still would be dead, and he just gets to move away afterwards, and he's still in that zone, so he gets to draw a card. And of course, our outlaw is dead. Going down 2 outlaws this early in the game, even though we revived one with Defenders of Sherwood, is bad. It's pretty bad. So hopefully we can get something going in the next couple turns to kind of get a defensive advantage going, because without our outlaws, we're going to take a bunch of damage, and Robin Hood is not good at blocking. So that's just not that great. End turn draw, and it'll be my turn. So I will. No, don't worry about it, man. I'll maneuver. I'll set up this outlaw here, and I'll move Robin Hood here, because even though he's ranged, because Bigfoot's Bigfoot's figure is too thick for Robin Hood to. Okay, so we'll just have to aim a little askew, and then we'll attack. Let's use. He's too beefy. He is. So what are our options here? We could use Disarming Shot, which probably isn't that good because we have a bunch of cards in our hand and we don't really want to draw more. We could use Regroup as a bait. We don't want to use Feint offensively here, or we could use Wily Fighting. I think Wily Fighting here actually looks like a good option, mainly because hopefully we can get him to waste a good block card, like a Skirmish or a Hoax. That would be ideal. If it gets canceled, it kind of sucks, but Regroup I'll use when we need a little bit more cards in our hand as a good attack bait. So we'll throw out this with Robin Hood. We'll attack Bigfoot, and let's see if we can get another cancel card out of here or not. Okay, so it was one of those big attacks, and his will go first, unfortunately, so we might not actually get the damage off. Okay, so he's just getting out. And then nothing happens, and I'll get to move again. Okay. Guess I probably should have played a regroup there. Actually, after saying everything out loud, I should have played a regroup there, but hindsight is 2020, and I'm focusing on too many different things right now. So surprise, surprise, I made a mistake. So he's probably going to, we'll say, and he's probably going to be attacking with the Jackalope, but I am, oh God, another Jackalope horns. Oh, so he's actually hitting Robin Hood with that because he could get there. So Robin Hood takes 2 damage. At least our outlaws staying alive, because without our outlaws, we are nothing. And that's 2 Jackalope horns down. So, and he's attacking me. I have a feeling this will be momentous shift. And if it's not that, it's probably an after combat move effect card. So we'll play Feint to keep the Jackalope right where it is. Okay, so it is a momentous shift, so I only take 1 damage. Yeah, just as we thought. Really, I guess underrated. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word here. Something that I guess I don't remember pointing out that often is that feints are really good on defense because they cancel after combat move effects, which especially for melee fighters is good because it lets you just attack right away. Because you don't let your opponent move. Of course, that doesn't work on someone like Robin Hood or Bruce Lee with after combat move abilities. So right now, let's get a disarming shot in on the Jabberwock. I keep saying Jabberwock. It's Jackalope. I hope everyone knows what I mean. It's just they're too similar. I have a feeling this might get canceled. Oh, okay. It's a regroup. That's really good because we deal 3 damage. So we get to draw 1, 2, 3 cards. He draws a card, but that's negligible when we drew 3. And then that's also telling he probably doesn't have a very strong, how do I say this, defensive block available for the Jackalope. So he'll take 3 damage. We need to attack him again. I have a feeling if he had a better block card, he would have used it there. So Wily Fighting again, I'm very tempted to play this because I want to just kill him. And because he played the regroup, I don't think he has a better card. So we'll do it again. And I'm going to be really sad if it doesn't kill him. Let's see what happens. No defense. Okay. So we played our wily fighting and we killed him. And notice this says each opposing fighter adjacent to your fighter. So I didn't just kill both of my outlaws there. Um, that would have been tragic. Yeah, so we have 3 copies of this card. We've used 2 on offense, which I guess is unideal, but we have gotten rid of the Jackalope. And I want to stay where I am probably. So we'll tell him it is his turn. Okay, so I'm down half of my outlaws. He's down his sidekick. He has 18 cards left. I have 18 cards left. That's actually kind of surprising because Robin Hood just has a ton of card draw in his deck. He's moving all the way over there. Oh, I guess if he's already drawn, he's just double maneuvering. Okay, he's probably going to end his turn there and end with 7 cards in his hand. Right now he has 6, so he'll have a full hand, and I also will have a full hand, which means I might have to go on the offensive here. Okay, okay, I will man with a boost. So I'm going to use the card Steal from the Rich to boost in this scenario because we just don't really need the card draw. And it will let me actually reach Bigfoot because I need 3 movement and I'm only a move 2 character. So we'll move right up next to him. I guess I'll just keep Robin Hood where he is, I guess, because Bigfoot. Actually, we'll move Robin Hood here and this outlaw here so that after the combat we'll move the other outlaw here and Bigfoot will have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces to get to Robin Hood, which just isn't possible. And this also blocks him off from a crash through the trees, which is why I'm not standing here because he could potentially get 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5, and just get behind my dudes somehow. But okay. So we'll attack, and we're going to use a regroup and not a highway robbery. We'll try to draw out a feint or something like that. Okay, so he actually played a regroup. That's horrible for me. I guess this means that he didn't have any good block cards in his hand. He just, what am I trying to say? We get to draw a card. One possibility from that was that he had like a feint or something in his hand, but didn't want to use it on the jackalope. I guess because he played a second regroup there, that just means that he had no block cards in his hand. And I probably should have played the highway robbery there to deal 2 damage, but just in case he just drew it because he drew 3 cards on that last turn. Okay, we'll tell him it's your turn. But I guess that either means he doesn't have good black cards in his hand, or he just was testing the highway robbery and didn't really care if the regroup got canceled. One thing that's interesting about combats is that you kind of have to know how your opponent plays, I guess. Some people will just not block when the outlaw attacks. I know I do that sometimes just because losing a card to a highway robbery just feels bad. But some people like Nemo here will play regroups because it's something if it's not a highway robbery, and if it is a highway robbery, I guess it doesn't really matter that the regroup got canceled. So knowing what your opponent tends to do is also important, but that happens on repeated plays, and obviously when you play against people online, sometimes it doesn't happen. So he's maneuvering with a boost. He's discarding a savagery, so he can move 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so he can't get all the way there, but where's he going? If we look at the board here. Ooh, he's trying to go around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where's he going? We drew a hunter's eye that last turn, which is pretty important because we need some of our big attacks to show up. Disarming shot is pretty good, but we don't need cards when our hand is basically full. Okay, so he's just boosting to get rid of the card, and he's attacking with the outlaw, or attacking the outlaw. We're just gonna play Defenders of Sherwood just in case. Well, not just in case, just because we want another outlaw back, and there's probably like a feint isn't gonna do it. So we'll do this to get the other outlaw back, which I guess net gain of 0 outlaws. And okay, so he's gonna retreat. So this outlaw is dead. We get to draw a card, and then we get to return a defeated outlaw to any space in Robin Hood zone. So he's moving there. Well, technically, I could have put mine there, but maybe I should point that out. But it doesn't really matter. The defender resolves first, so I could return this this dude to any space in Robin Hood zone, but he moved already, which I guess it doesn't really matter. But I'll put it there, and then it's my go, right? Okay, and we're gonna attack him with a a big old highway robbery. How many cards does he have in his hand? Okay, so he has a full hand, which is why he didn't care about not getting his ability off. He goes, hey, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so at this point of the game, he's on full health. He's got a full hand. We have almost a full hand and just a lot of good attacks. We got highway robbery, hunter's eye, and ambush, which are all just really good attacks. Because he's been blocking with regroups recently, that kind of leads me to believe that he doesn't have that many good black cards in his hand, but he's drawn a bunch of cards in recent turns. He's gone through a majority of his deck. He only has 12 cards left. We have 15 cards left. So I'm a little bit wary about using the highway robbery because I'm pretty sure it's just going to get canceled. But I guess we'll have to see if he's drawn or not. I kind of want to use this first and then attack with ambush because we really don't want ambush to get canceled. Ideally, we want ambush to bring out something like savagery or larger than life. That's pretty good. I'm also interested in why he used disengage to go there. Usually, you use disengage to just run away. I think if I were him, I would have gone here just to being a little bit closer, but this just it leaves him kind of vulnerable. So maybe he does have good block cards. See, I'm going in circles here because I just don't know. He had to let his dogs back inside. No problem. Okay. So we'll attack him with. We should be a little maybe scared of a hoax because hoax can move him 1, 2, 3, and be right next to us. But we can always use our second action to maneuver. So I'll attack. I'll attack with this outlaw because we don't want to move the other outlaw. And if I had a regroup in my hand, I would attack with it because he probably has a cancel. Yeah, he has a cancel. So nothing happens because it's just my imagination. Now, do we want to move this outlaw? I think I will, just so that I don't have to burn a feint on a savagery if he plays it. And then so I want to attack him with ambush. Do I want to use Robin Hood or the outlaw? Let's use the outlaw just in case he doesn't want to block. Like if he thinks he's a highway robbery and he doesn't have any cancels. Yeah, no defense. So we flip this over. Whoops. It's an ambush. So now we get to discard a random card from him. So that was exactly what we wanted. So we'll wait for him to shuffle up his hand. And like if we draw a larger than life here, that's a boost value 3. Okay. Okay. So it's just a momentous shift, which has a boost value of 1. So we just deal 3 damage, which obviously isn't ideal. And this, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, isn't one of the better Bigfoot cards, but we would have liked to see something else. And I think I'll just keep that outlaw there because I'd rather it take a hit than Robin Hood. Okay, his turn. So that was good, but it could have been great because we could have just dealt like 5 unblocked damage, but we dealt 3 instead. You can't complain about that, but getting rid of a momentous shift definitely wasn't the best thing that could have happened. But the mind game there happened. Ooh, okay. So where's he going? He's attacking this outlaw. We only have feints, which won't keep them alive. But do we feint if it's like a hoax or a skirmish to prevent him from moving away? I guess a hoax could move him to this purple zone, and he does only have 5 cards, so maybe he does do that. Uh, okay, so we're gonna throw a feint down here just so he can't move after combat. Okay. Again, because canceling after combat move effects is potentially pretty powerful, especially because he's already in our zone. So we could hit him with a Hunter's Eye disarming shot right away next turn. Okay, so it was a savagery. So he still dies, and it wasn't an after combat move effect, but we cancel the effect anyway. It is my turn. Okay. We'll throw out this Hunter's Eye first to get rid of his like better block card. And then we'll use Disarming Shot second because we want that to deal more damage, and we want cards from that. So what is this is a hoax. Okay. So this obviously like wouldn't have drawn us any cards against a Disarming Shot. He takes 1 damage and he gets to move 5 spaces, potentially through opposing fighters. Okay. So if I don't move right now, I'm probably going to get smacked by a larger than life on his turn. But there's nowhere I could move besides here that I could get hit, but I can get to move after our next attack. So let's do that. And we really, really hope this doesn't get canceled and that it actually deals damage. Because we can just skirt off to this space after combat, so he can't smack us with a larger than life. All right, let's see. Flip. Okay, it's a momentous shift, so we deal 1 damage. Seeing him block with this makes me believe that he doesn't really have. Oh, it is a 5. You're right. Damn, because he used hoax to move on that turn. Okay. So a defensive momentous shift. You don't really see it that often, but it's pretty powerful because 5 value block cards are really good. So we actually don't get any cards from that, which is horrible. We'll move there, and it's his turn. I would not be surprised if he boosted his maneuver here because he needs 4 spaces to go around the other way. But he only has 3 cards in his hand, so we'll see. Okay, he's just going to attack the outlaw. We'll wait for him to put down a card. This could be his last regroup, which would be awful, but I think I don't want to waste the feint on the outlaw. No def. Let's see what it is. Okay, it wasn't. So it was a savagery. So he's big dead, but it doesn't deal any damage to Robin Hood because it's they're not adjacent. Yeah, he dealt 5 damage to that outlaw. Okay, so we're going to maneuver. Let's see what cards he draws. What I draw. Snark. That'll be good for when he attacks us because it'll block 3 damage from a larger than life. But let's go here. Yeah, let's just run away. And we'll maneuver again. Okay, regroup. We'll use that as a bait attack. And now he can move 1, 2, 3 spaces. So we need to move again so that he has to boost in order to hit us. So we'll move over here. and we'll just be ready for him. So if he attacks us, we're pretty much going to use Snark because it's better than Feint at blocking a larger than life. Okay, so he's not boosting. He's using Crash Through the Trees to move right there. Also, I think maybe his third Momentous Shift could show up, but Snark is the best value blocker we have, and it'll draw us a card. What's it going to be? Okay, so it is larger than life. So we take 3 damage, but we get to draw a card because we're still adjacent to him. Okay, Steal from the Rich. How many cards does he have in his hand? He only has 2 cards, which means he probably won't discard anything. Yeah, and what's horrible here is that he gets his end of the turn draw. So maybe last turn I probably should have moved here instead of here because we're in 2 separate zones, but I'm trying to talk too much, and for some reason I just can't think of everything, which is a shame. So it's actually really disappointing that he got that off. Before we attack, I checked the deck count, so he's actually drawn more than us, so it's okay for us to play Steal from the Rich. Usually I don't like playing Steal from the Rich because it puts you into exhaustion or your deck running out faster than the opponent. So we'll do this. So this lets us draw a card, and then if he wants to discard a card, he can. Otherwise, I just get to draw 2 cards, which is nice. Wily Fighting, another good card for blocking larger than life. Go ahead and draw 2. Okay, so that's what we wanted. Oh, there's our highway robbery. I'm pretty sure we've already used both Defenders of Sherwood, so that card will not be getting any use, and we'll attack him with Regroup. Okay, he is blocking. It's a feint, so we don't get the card draw, but we do get to run. Robin Hood is good against melee fighters in this way because he gets to move after combat, so the opposing fighter will always have to be maneuvering his first turn, or first action, I should say, to attack, and then you can't get double attacks on Robin Hood, which is good. So he's maneuvering. He only has 1 card in his hand, actually, so maybe he won't be aggressive towards us. Oh, okay, he probably just drew a good block card or larger than life, and he's going in to attack us. So we'll use Wily Fighting here. Oops, let's get that tilt out. Okay, what is it? It is a Skirmish. Okay, the good news is, so I take 1 damage. Mine happens first because I'm the defender, so he takes a damage, and then he gets to move one of us 2 spaces away. Oh god, and he's gonna be in another zone. Oh, okay, he's moving. Yeah, so either way, he would have been in his own zone and gotten to draw a card, which is bad for us, but what the hell. So we're 3 cards ahead of him. We're probably just going to be double maneuvering and running away and forcing him to boost to catch up to us because we're slightly ahead in the deck game. So we will maneuver. And we don't have any good attacks in our hand anyways. And we'll maneuver again. Okay. Piercing Shot shown up for the first time this game. It's kind of bad at this point of the game because with 8 cards left, we really don't want to be drawing 2 cards. It's really good to see those earlier, but we got cards like Disarming Shot early. And I think we still have 2 Hunter's Eyes in our deck, which we'll want to get through eventually. But he only has 7 cards left in his deck, 2 cards in hand, meaning if he double maneuvers this turn, he'll be very close to the end of his deck. He's like 1 to okay. So he's checking my discard pile. He's wondering if it's worth it to attack me. Maybe he thinks I don't have any block cards, but I guess he would be half true because Feint is not a very good block card against larger than life in this scenario because I'd take 4 damage. I'd be at 2 health, which is kind of bad. So even though my deck is fuller than his, I'm in a very bad situation right now, health card and sidekick wise. He has 11 health, which probably going to be a pain to chew through. Like Robin Hood's biggest attack is, yes, sorry, a value 5, and Bigfoot has a ton of 4 value block cards. So sometimes you only do 1 damage with your biggest attack, and that really sucks. Okay, is he boosting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He probably won't discard something with a boost value of 3 unless it's like a savagery or something. But so he is boosting Jackalope Horns. Okay, so he can move 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he was right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's probably just getting a little bit closer to me. Man, then draw for the end of his turn. And again, he's alone in the end. So he's drawing with his ability at the end of his turn, which is kind of accelerating the drawing of his deck. But if he's drawing good attacks and blocks, then it doesn't really matter. So I'll be maneuvering. Because drawing again would put me at 6 cards. So I am just going to run away. We did draw, I think, is that a Snark, which is good for blocking, but it's not good for drawing. Let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces that way, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces that way. So that's good. I was just checking to make sure that was relatively even. 6 spaces is still a lot for Bigfoot. And there's another highway robbery. It's really a shame we didn't draw more of those early, but our opponent aggressively went for our outlaw, so that's bound to happen at some point. Okay, so he's maneuvering. Is he going to boost? It doesn't look like he is. Our fighters just don't fit together on this board. Okay. Okay. My turn. Let's hit him with a regroup. Let's make him hopefully waste a good block card. It'd be a real shame if he doesn't block here. Oh, God, okay. Ooh, this is actually really good because he won the combat, so he draws 2 cards. So his deck is now empty. So I'll draw a card. He goes, yeah, oh wait. And he'll draw 2 cards. And now I have so I move after that because I want him to maneuver as much as possible, and then I'll man again. I'll draw a card and I'll move 2 more spaces. So there, I think, is our second Hunter's Eye. Let's check our discard pile and see how many of those we've played so far. We've played 1. Yep, we've only played 1, so it just so happens that 2 of them were in the bottom 5 cards, and it's your turn. So he's gonna have to maneuver here, unless he has crashed through the. Yep, there it is. Okay, so he's crashed through the trees to move without taking damage from exhaustion because his deck is empty. So every time he maneuvers, he'll have to take 2 damage. And we'll check his discard pile just to double check. He's played 1 larger than life, 2 savageries, all 3 of his momentous shifts. And he has like every other card in his hand, so he definitely has 2 larger than lives here. So I'm assuming that's what this is going to be. So I need to play a Snark here to kind of prevent some damage more than a feint. Okay, it was a skirmish, not a larger than life. So he's been baiting me. So I'll take 1 damage, and I have to draw a card. This is not a May.
and then he gets to move one of us 2 spaces. He'll probably move me out of the purple zone so that I can't attack him. No movement. Okay. And we got the other hunter's eye from that. So we're probably just going to throw down both of those this turn. And then our feint will block 4 damage from the larger than life he'll play next turn, probably. Okay. Okay, so obviously you can't cancel something that has no effects. So he takes 2 damage. And see, now is the question of, do I attack with piercing shot to maybe draw 2 cards and get potentially a better black card? But let's check his discard pile and just get a sense of what black cards he potentially has. So I see 2 hoaxes here, the 3rd hoax there, so he has no hoaxes. There's a skirmish. And there's 2 other skirmishes. And he's played 2 is just your imaginations. I see 1, 2, 2 feints, 2 feints. Where's the 3rd feint? I'm going to feel very foolish if I'm just blatantly missing something. So I'm going to, yep, we're going to throw out a hunter's eye on him and see what he does. Okay, so there's his 3rd feint. So he takes 3 damage, and then I will move away, not maneuver. Okay, so it's going to be a close one. So he probably has very little block options left in his deck, if any. If he has no hoaxes, no feints, no, it's just your imaginations. He's played all his skirmishes. Yeah, besides regroup, I don't think he has anything to block with. So we'll play a feint here because it's the only card in our hand. It's probably a larger than life. Yeah, so we take 4 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're in the danger zone a little bit. I think our other ambush is in the deck, and I really wish I had it now. Okay, so we'll attack him with piercing shot. Ooh, okay. So he takes 2 damage, and we draw 1, 2 cards. Yep, there's our other ambush, and there's our other piercing shot. No defense. And I think that's GG because he'll have to maneuver to us after this attack, but we'll just attack with an ambush anyways. Okay, so it's an ambush. So he's dead. GG. That was a really close game. It literally came down to the wire. He's at 0 health right now, but both of our decks were almost empty. Yeah, he didn't have anything to block with. So it's just like we thought. He ran out of block cards, which is why knowing your opponent's deck and looking through your discard pile can be very useful because we determined he didn't have any feints, or he had 1 feint left. He ran out of It's Just Your Imaginations. He played all 3 hoaxes, all 3 skirmishes, all 3 momentous shifts. He didn't have any regroups left, and those are all the cards that Bigfoot can block with. So Robin Hood, I think he has like the 2nd most red cards in the game, and you can just wear down your opponent's ability to block by the end of the game. That's Robin Hood versus Bigfoot. I hope that some of what I was talking about was informative, because I know someone asked for like a very specific like guide on like going through options and stuff, and I tried to do that. This was my first time like ever commentating as I'm playing, and it's it's admittedly a lot harder than it looks. I know for the Unmatched tournament, those commentators that did that, they are in a whole nother league. They're just props to them for having so much game knowledge and the ability to essentially improvise what to say on the fly, because I was really trying to like say everything, and like go through like why I was doing certain options and like the options that I did have, and what my opponent might do, and just talk about like my positioning and stuff like that.
But as you can see, it's hard, and I made a few mistakes, and it's I'm just this is very interesting. Let me know if you think I did a good job or not. Obviously, like just because I won doesn't mean I played well. I definitely made a few mistakes, and my opponent made a few very good mind game plays on me. Um, but yeah, just let me know what you thought of this, and if you want me to do it again. This was interesting to make, I'll say the least, and I had fun. Thank you, Nemo, for being such a good participant. You are truly a worthy opponent. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. I'll respond in the chat, you know.
So it's time for another post game analysis, and yeah, that game was a lot closer. The thing I want to specifically point out here about that game was exhaustion and what happens when the decks run out. So, with around 10 ish cards left in my deck, I realized that I was actually up a few cards in my deck compared to my opponent's deck. And for whatever reason, Bigfoot kept using his ability to draw cards. I'm not exactly sure why, but I'll speculate that maybe he needed more cards to block with and his hand was very attack heavy. But I tried to avoid unnecessary draws, and especially when Nemo's deck ran out, I had enough spare cards left in my deck to just maneuver away and force Bigfoot to constantly maneuver or scheme to come to me. And then after his turn, I could double attack him and use my ability to move away and repeat, which is just a really nasty action sequence against melee characters. My deck knowledge came in handy because I roughly determined that all his good block cards were already used and in his discard pile, and I could confidently attack him and try to go for the kill. Definitely still not the perfect game, but hopefully my rambling wasn't purely incoherent for this video and you can actually take something away from watching these two matches. So that's it for this video. Thank you for making it this far, and I'll try not to be too loud in case you fell asleep, but if you are still awake, please let me know what you thought of my first playthrough. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you want to see something similar or have a matchup request, as always, just leave a comment and I'll probably respond. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and as always, like, subscribe, and yeet!